right, guys. I think if somebody can let me know the tech stuff is working out. I worked my tail off. I haven't really slept too much last 2 days, but watching loads of film. I got some film for you. I've got a ton of graphics and statistics and analytics. Hey, Marcos, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I got a good one tonight, man. I think it's going to be succinct, too. Thanks, Brian. You're the man. You're the man. I really worked my tail off on this one because it was a rough week for me, man. I got a little heat. I didn't really kind of sound off totally on the penalties things from the Eagles. And I think I got a little, some things got confused, but I was talking to somebody. Hey, Lucas, what's going on, man? What's going on, brother? And my point, it's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Either the penalties we saw against the Eagles were malicious, which means the game was purposely thrown by the refs, or they're incompetent. And for me, after the Pittsburgh Steelers and Seattle game, the calls were so bad as far as holding goes. They gave the game to Pittsburgh. I really stopped watching the NFL for a couple of years because I was so disgusted. And so for me, the penalty thing, I was trying to point out by showing our penalties and penalties around the league that I'm hoping it's incompetence. Because if they throw this Eagles game against the Dolphins, then they threw the Chiefs game against the Jets on purpose. And every week and nearly every game with the Bills a couple of times, that means this league is fixed and the game is hopeless. And so my point was, and maybe it was just my fear factor of putting my head in Washington in the ground, but I wanted to believe that these penalties are incompetence. Obviously, they affect the games. You saw the Bills game the other night. Vaughn gets torn down, and the ref doesn't call it. And then they throw the Hail Mary to the end zone, and they got like a roller skate derby in there, and nobody gets called. So I don't know what the deal is, but I'm just praying it's not fixed because you got a dead game. You have a dead game. Just look what happened to baseball with the fixed World Series, how it died. So anyway, notice how all their It's Rigged commercials aren't showing anymore. The official NFL commercials, I mean, I hope it's not, man. I'm very cynical. I'm very jaded. I'm old, I guess, whatever. Maybe it's my nature. I'm just hoping that I know that certain players fix games because of this or that, and certain refs might be involved, but I'm hoping the overall tenor is just incompetency. So anyway, I just wanted to get that point out. But I want to show, I got some film. I want to go over. I got the stats, blockers per pass. It's my stat. It's my analytics. I make it up. I made it up. I calculate it as well as receivers and route. And I believe it's a critical stat. And I'm going to show you through film that I saw from Greg Cosell. And Greg Cosell's, the guy's been around forever. He's great. I'm not here to knock him. But the context of blockers per pass is so critical. And I'm going to go over the film where they're knocking Tua for his one read and done type game. And I'm not saying he's the greatest reader or anything. It's not my contention. My contention is that while everything is presented to you very, very well, I want to see if you see some clear context. And it shows how without context, you really lose major piece of an evaluation. So I'm going to go over this. Let's take a look at this play here.
Okay, there are 21 personnel.
This is Greg Cosell. He's got a couple plays. He does 2 plays. I'm going to stop at the end of it and let me know what you think is missing in his evaluation.
Staple for them. Yep. And they're going to have a little bit of that inside run action. That's what they do. And they want to get the ball to Tyreek Hill.
You guys can hear it, right? You can hear the sound of the audio.
On that in-breaker between the numbers. That's the staple concept.
That first window.
That first window throw. Now look what the Eagles do. They're going to play split safety. That's the right approach.
Cool, thanks.
And what that allows Darius Slay to do down below, with outside leverage, he can press and he can undercut the route. And you can see that really clearly here. He can take away the window because he knows he has safety help over the top.
Thanks.
And the second part now is the linebacker getting depth as well. He's also squeezing the window. So all that gets taken away. So the window is not there. Tua does not feel comfortable making that throw.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right here. Now, again, Greg Cosell knows more than I do. He's bigger than I. But what is your take? What are you seeing right here? What is the major paramount? For me, there's two paramount contexts to this, which kind of nullifies his overall thesis that Tua gets shaky after one read. Does anybody, can anybody put out what their take is on this film? The failure in adding certain context. Anybody? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah, our blockers are falling down, but how many blockers are in there? How many blockers are in there? There's 7 guys against 4 and only 2 guys in routes against 7. So you have one guy triple coverage for all intent and purposes and another guy quadruple coverage, and you're getting pressure with 7 guys blocking and only 4 guys rushing.
And when he can't make a first window throw, he's not a comfortable player.
So what window would you throw this to? You can't throw it to the right and you can't throw it to the left because you got 2 safeties reading over the top and you've got pressure. So to me, I just feel like, yeah, I got you, Brian. I just feel like this is not a genuine, I mean, it's a fair evaluation in the moment, but how do you expect a guy to have 2 receivers going against 7 DBs, 7 guys into block, and still getting pressure with 4? And so this was one play, and I thought because of the blockers per pass, there was nowhere to throw, and the pressure with all that protection, the context was left really on the cutting room
floor. But what does
floor.
Tua want to do? He wants Waddle this time on the same staple in-breaker. Okay, but because it's third down, run action doesn't matter. So what do? They use the back in the flat to open the window. So that's the concept here. Look at New England. Kind of looks split safety-ish, but they're going to rotate.
Yeah, that's exactly it, opinionated. And that's why I've been adding blockers per pass for 2 years now as critical stats. And you can actually, I'm going to go through this through a series of games to show you how critical it is and how context really, it has to be used or an evaluation can fall flat on its face. Because there's no way that a guy can have 2 guys in routes against 7, have 7 guys into block, and 4 guys get pressure on him, and then you look at the quarterback. It just doesn't make any sense.
And Jalen Mills is going to drop down almost like a robber or a hole player and take away that.
Oh, okay. Thanks, buddy. Sorry.
Window throw. So again, Tua can't throw with the timing that he wants. It starts with coverage. Now you get the 4-man pressure. You see Tua no throw. Gets
all right, 4-man pressure, and look at that pressure. Now, take it back. Now, this one's a little different. You've got 7 versus 4, but look at the route combinations. 2 guys underneath. Okay. Now, all they're meant to do is to create leverage to open up the 2 receivers doing posts. But you've got 2 guys on each receiver with over leverage and a safety eyeing
away that window throw.
Where
so again,
is
Tua
he
can't
going to throw the football?
With the timing that.
Oops, did it again. Where is he going to throw the football? And how can you not look at the lack of protection and put those out as the primary reasons there's nowhere for him to go?
Starts with coverage. Now you get the 4-man pressure. You see Tua no throw.
So let me hide this one. So does that make sense? And when you go back and you look at last year, the Dolphins averaged like 6.7, 6.8 blockers per pass. And so you are having 2 to 3 guys out in routes all year. Now, how can you possibly have success with that and still get the amount of pressure that you got last year? Now, let's take a look at this year. Here's from this week against the Ravens. Top portion over here. Time to throw 2.24 seconds, which is insane. I mean, that is pure speed. No, they're not all going to work, but you can't fault Tua. Settle down. Hey, be quiet, Mafia boy. But the point is that Greg Cosell was saying that Tua struggles when he can't get past his first, when he can't get his first read out. But if you only have 2 reads and the 2 reads are double and triple covered and you're still getting pressure, how can you fault the quarterback is what I'm saying. I'm not talking an overall, because you have to go through each individual play. But if Tua is his main knock is that, well, once his first read's done, he's no good. If you only have 2 reads, you're getting pressure and the routes are covered, you can't talk about the quarterback. And so I don't know why he picked those particular plays to make that point, because the context is that those weren't conducive plays for a quarterback. You do not see quarterbacks having 2 guys in routes and getting pressure with all those guys in protection and having high success is what I'm trying to say. So if you look at Philly, you see we got the ball out 2.24 seconds, which is extremely fast. We still had a 27 pressure rate with 11 pressures, but we kept 6.8 blockers in to block. And we were only blitzed 4 times. So I think it was 30 passes. So on 26 passes, it was 4 guys against 6.8 in general, and we still gave up that pressure rate. And so for me, this is why when Tua gets his knocks, I say look towards the framework first. And if he's got good framework, then you can kind of start building out to the quarterback, because the quarterback is the most important, but he is the most dependent position in the game, despite that, quarterbacks do everything. So this is going to carry over into our Patriots game. So I'm going to add, if you look at the game that we just played, okay, you'll see the stats in green are the ones where we had high success. And most likely those are the ones that turned the game towards us. Now, obviously 2-1 turnovers, that was huge. That Chubb turnover was massive. Yards per rush, 4.8 and 3.5. So the run game was there, 145 to 88. Those were critical. And the sacks, you could see 4 sacks to 1 sack. So these are critical stats. And the running attack, its commitment to it, its ability to have success is what finally broke us open. So clearly going into this game, the run attack and our ability to get after the quarterback is going to be critical. Now, it's not the same game. We're in Miami. The squads are different. Basically, the Patriots are mostly healthy. I don't know what we're going to be. I think, we're going to be a little less healthy, even though we're at home. It's hard to say exactly what it's going to be. But the run game is going to be critical. Now, if you take a look, I'm going to focus on the run game, and then I'll get to the bigger stats in a second. So if you look at this is Miami's offense versus the nickel of the Patriots. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Tommy, scary night last night. At least Allen had a good game. I was happy since he's on my fan. That was a scary game, dude. How'd your Bills? That was crazy, man. Phillips, he almost did one for us, man. Cost you. All right, so this is a little PFF layout, just a quick kind of layout. If you look at the red, those are negative environments for our run game. The yellow is kind of like balanced, and green is good environment. Now, they struggle in the pass game. I think we're going to pass. I think we're going to pass. I don't think they're going to be able to, shut our pass down in any way, shape, or form. But everybody, even their bad cornerbacks that, struggle with coverage, they're all good at stopping the run. And one of the things I noted is the ability for edge defenders to hem in that run game. And so it's going to be a little harder for us to run on the edges. But they have weaknesses inside. Barmore, he's not bad. Wise Jr. and Godchow. Godchow and Wise Jr. are very weak spots. This is why if Connor plays and he's paired with Hunt, I really like our ability to punish this team, to get a couple of those big plays. And a couple of big plays on the inside is going to open up everything. It could actually turn this game on its head. And so that's really what we're going to have to attack. The problem is if you got Eichenberg paired with Cotton, that's not a good combo. Hunt is really good. Don't worry about it, brother. Don't worry about it. That's a great combo. It's an unbelievable combo. It is so fun watching the chemistry between these two guys. And I think they can dominate most of this front. But if Connor's not in and Eichenberg's in there with Cotton, like I said, and Lamb, he could be hot and cold. He's pretty decent on the edge sometimes, but if he's got a drive block, he struggles. Jackson could be decent on the edge. Sometimes he can drive block a little bit, but there's struggling there. Smythe hasn't been hot. This is why I like Claypool coming in over Berrios. Berrios is not a good blocker. Waddle has been exceptional for us. And I really like Waddle on the right side. One second. I'll be right there, Brian. Waddle on the right side with even Jackson, who I do not, but he's learning some things in the little cheat things. He does some brilliant stuff in the cheat department. And I think that's going to pay dividends a couple of years from now. But then next to Connor and Hunt, that side could really break things open because, it's really exceptional what Waddle's able to do. Hold on a second. Brian, do you think not having Connor loses us this game? I'm just so worried about him coming and getting hurt and then dealing with Eichenberg against KC. Well, I said before the game, I said we would lose by 14 points to the Bills if Eichenberg started. And I said we would lose by 14 points to the Eagles if Eichenberg started. Now, the penalties might have made it less than 14 points. That's fair. But we would have probably, it wasn't hot to trot. But I don't know if we're going to lose this game with Eichenberg because this team's a little beat up. I don't know if they're going to have the offense. I mean, if Ramsey comes in, and I don't know about Holland, he's not certain. If X plays and Kohu, it might be really tough for this team. Now, for their advantage, because to me, the only way you beat the Dolphins is if you have an offense and defense. You can't just have one or the other. We're too good. We have too many big plays on offense, and our defense is getting better. You can't have a stagnant one side or the other. You got to be balanced. Opinionated Onion. Do you think they could transition Claypool and Debo? No, because he's 6'4", man. See, I said that before. They said EZ. They said they were going to try to do EZ. And I said EZ's too tall. He's like 6'2", and he's a little skinny. And the thing that makes Debo, and you can see now he's getting beat up. He's almost washed up because his body's so beaten. But the thing that made Debo is he could run in the middle and then run to the outside and catch to the outside. And that's what made him so threatening because he could attack everywhere. Now, I do think Claypool can do some nice stuff for us in that athletic department, and I think EZ can too. But Debo is 6 foot, like 215 or something, and like EZ is like 6'2", 205, and Claypool's 6'4", 230, maybe. But when you're high like that, unless you run extremely low, those knees get hit, and that sucks the life out of you. So I think he could do some stuff, but not Debo level. I think even Debo, I think Debo might be on his way out because he hasn't been good for, a year and a half, too many injuries. So I think they could play some parts, but Debo, it was so special because when he was in the backfield, he could take it to the edge and then inside, and you would see guys pinch up because with his speed, if he hit the inside, that's the most deadly thing because it's the quickest point to quickest route to 2 points is a straight line. and he could burst it up the middle, and that made guys pinch. Then that would open up the edge. So I don't know. I think in some ways he can. I think we have to prioritize getting them healthy. We have to look to long-term, short-term. I do too. But I think they're a little. Concerned because this Patriots team is kind of coming together a little bit. Now, what we didn't have, we played them the first week. They didn't have Brown, and they had Onwenu, who was on a bad leg. Now they've moved Onwenu to right tackle, and Brown, he's healthy at left tackle. They got Andrews and City Sal, who's a young draft pick. It's 332 or something, and he's playing pretty decent at that right guard position. Strange is a weak point, but when you got Onwenu and Brown on the outside, look, our team is driven by receivers and Tua. And then you add in the rest of the stuff and the defense, but this is a receiver, quarterback-driven team. Patriots are an offensive line-driven team, and the offensive line's coming together, and I think they're a little concerned. I don't think the staff thinks they're going to lose, but I don't think they can screw around. And so I think they're going to bring Connor in or have him in reserve. They have him in reserve. They're like, we're not sure if he's going to start, but they got him there just in case it gets dangerous, because you got to win this game. You can't go to 6-3 and then lose. Then you're tied with the Bills, and then you're not first place in the division, and then you got to go to KC. And so I think they want to grab this game, and I think they're going to put guys in and might get like what they did with Von or with the Bills, bring them a couple of reps and just in case you need them. But I think they're a little concerned over this game. Not saying they think we're going to lose, and I don't think they're going to either, depending, but I think this is going to be a tough game. Those guys should try to fill the Gesicki hole. He's all right. He's a little he's made some plays for them, and I think they're finding a way for him. I think he's a mid to late clock guy. If they don't have the line, they can't use him. So I think this guy is going to see some more plays. Totally, offseason was all about Bills and Dolphins. Then Jets got Rodgers. Rodgers went down, but they're still playing way better than expected. And Pats have lost a lot, but they're tightening up. And this is it. We have a chance to put them. I forgot to say, guys, tomorrow I'm at Jedi Sports Network. My man Tommy, we're going to do the AFC East shakedown. I totally forgot. I'm a monkey, dude. So, guys, you want to check us out there, Jedi Sports Network. We're going to be covering, each guy's got their own team. We're going to go over the teams. I forgot to do that. I was supposed to do it in the beginning. So anyway, we have a chance to put the knife in the Patriots season. If we beat the Patriots, they're done. They're done. Season's over. But if they win, they've clawed their way into a point where maybe they can continue clawing their way forward. So they're going to come out with everything, man. They're going to throw the kitchen sink, and I think they know that. Let's see. Okay, so this is what it looks like. We're going to have to run inside. They got safeties. They do a lot of personnel looks. They do a lot of shifting and stuff. It's going to be a little tough for us, I think, to run to the edges. And I think if Connor's in, we're going to be able to attack that interior, and we're going to have to run. Now, I'm going to go over this here stat. Now, this is a comparison of 2022 week 1 and 2023 week 2, us versus the Patriots. Now, there's a lot of differences here. There's a lot of differences. Tua is new to the system. Now he's marinated in the system. We had Teron and Connor and a full offensive line. This time we might not. The Patriots are a little bit healthier on the defense. This time they're a little bit not as healthy. We've got more talent in our receiving group. We've got a different defense. But I think there are Nicholas, what are our key evaluations we're looking for in this game? For me, I'm going to get that right now. To me, run game is key. You have to have a successful run game. You have to get to the quarterback. Obviously, those are two key things. But for me, blockers per pass is the key. If we don't have, we won both these games last year and this year, but last year was a little difficult, and Tua got the snot beat out of him. And you don't want that now. So to me, how well this offensive line can block, how many receivers we can get out, how quick we get that ball off, is going to facilitate this offense, but it's got to kind of be driven by some coherent run game to create that balance, because that defense is going to be tough. I think the offense will hang in there a little bit. And so if you look at week 1 last year, time to throw 2.66 seconds. And that was like indicative of last season. And if you look at last week, it was like 2.58 or so. What was, I can't remember how many, see what it was. I had it over here. I forgot. Time throws 2.24 seconds. Okay. So it was pretty quick last week, but they had the heavy pressure despite that. We kept 6.8 blockers in. So last year it was 2.66 seconds time to throw, but we still kept, if you can see, BPP 6.3. You had 6.3 blockers per pass. Now they blitzed 16 times last year and got 41% pressure rating, almost 42. This time they blitzed 15 times, but only got 6% pressure rate. Now you can see the 2.66 time to throw compared to 1.98. That's insane. Now they really played off because they had no secondary. So I don't expect to see that this time. They have enough to where they're going to play their defense, where they have some man running through zone. And I don't think we're going to be able to get the ball off that quick. But we've got to do something about the blockers per pass. In week 1, you can see down here, BPP was 6.3. This year in week 2, it was 5.14. And that's how come we were able to get the time to throw at 1.98, because we had guys going into routes and we were able to overwhelm them, and Tua had options. And it goes back to the original video that I was showing where Greg Cosell was saying, look, he can't get past his first read and he gets nervous, but he only had 2 options really, and he had pressure with only 2 options. But when he played the Patriots, he had more options. He was able to facilitate the ball out. And even when they brought the blitz, that speed of throw and the ability to hold the blocks allowed him to be clean, and it kept the game tilted towards our favor. Yards last year and this year, pretty much the same, 270, 249, but it's that blockers per pass. And then if you notice, when Tua had the pressure, 41.7 last year, he had bad throws, 7 bad throws. This year, 0. And again, look at the run support, our run SUP, 65 and 2.8 yards per carry compared to 145, 5.0, and 2 touchdowns. So for me, speed of throw, ability to put guys in routes, to limit your blockers and run the football is how we're going to win. Because if we do that, we'll put points on. If we have enough of these guys coming back on defense, we'll limit their offense, which is not really hard to trot. They're going to get 20-something points, maybe. And so for me, that's what it comes down to. If Connor's in and Hunt's in and Lamb is there, they can kind of float the boat. I would prefer Jones over Cotton, because he won't get blown up. He's not the best zone stretch guy, but his power roots him and he doesn't get blown up. And when Cotton gets blown up, it collapses the pocket and we have problems. So if Cotton plays, I'm a little curious. If Eichenberg plays, I'm very concerned. But if Connor plays and Jones plays with Lamb, Hunt, and Jackson, I think we'll win. And so those would be the keys for me. Okay, CR, sorry about that, brother. If we hold them to 9, I think Tua could put up 10 points. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to O'Brien is tricky, guys. Mac is limited. He is. He's a system quarterback, and I think most guys are, but he's more of a system quarterback. But he can do his thing, and they got a lot of little pieces. And if they can run the ball enough, if Fangio has to come out with those 2, the 2 tech, the 2 eye tech, and the 3 tech, and the 5 techs on the outside, and they're able to use Onwenu and Brown to generate some kind of run game, then they're going to put some points on. And Fangio hasn't proven to be a kind of guy with his defense that's going to just shut guys down. So I think this is going to be a 20-something, maybe 17-point game for the Patriots, a 23-point game for the Patriots, and we're going to have to do better than that. And so if our offense can get those guys in routes and Tua uses the speed to get that ball out and we're not crumbling, at 2.24 seconds like last week, I think the game's in hand. But there's a lot from here to there because we don't know about these injuries. Does that make sense, guys? Does it sound semi-coherent? Let me know what you think. Listen, guys, please, I want your thoughts. I appreciate it. Like, so I was talking to Angel this week, and he was like my counselor over the penalties thing. And then I came to the realization, man, I was scared to admit the game's fixed. And so it's like, I talk to you guys all the time, and I think about what you say, and it germinates thoughts in my head, and I go in different directions I never would have went without you guys, your thoughts and your comments. So please, if you think I'm wrong on something, point it out. I'm cool with that. If you think, I'm missing something, point that out. I appreciate everything you guys got to say. Please understand that. We're a community here. I'm no guru. I just work really hard. I got issues. So, all right. So that's really how I see it. Eichenberg, if he's in, he's going to pull down the unit and force more blockers. If you look at the Buffalo game and you look at the Philly game, our blockers per pass ballooned. But if you look at every other game, we had very few blockers in, like 5.5. And that's why we were hot to trot. We were burning people apart because then you could get to your Berrios. You could run your 3 and your 4 wides. But last year, we had to keep 2 tight ends in. We ran Waddle and Hill. And then if we ran 3 wide receivers, it was Gesicki, Waddle, and Hill. And that's why we sank. And so this blockers per pass, I made it, and maybe I'm hyping it, but the correlations that I'm finding are absolutely, I think, indicative of this team's success. No dumb question, man. Time to pass is more like time until pass, right? Yeah, time to throw. They have different calculations. PFF, Pro Football Reference, Next Gen Stats. Basically, when the ball comes out, some of them they'll say they'll disclude sacks. So it's just a general thing. You can go to these 3 sites and get very specific on it. I just threw up a general number, but this was like a PFF number, I think. I use all 3. I use Next Gen Stats. You can check that. And then Pro Football Reference, and then Pro Football Focus. And each one has a different flavor. And then when you compare that with a series of other analytics, it kind of creates a little bit of a picture, nothing indicative, but each one is a different spin on it. Does that make sense? Oh, man, Nicholas, don't say that, man. I literally, let me tell you something. That Seattle-Pittsburgh game, I was heartbroken. I kind of knew Max Strong, and I wanted him to win so bad, and they were robbed, man. You go back, watch that game. Seattle is getting pulled down by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Seattle goes like barely touches the guy, and it was like penalty, penalty, penalty. It was so rigged, and I just thought, either the game's rigged or they just like Pittsburgh. But every time I put my mind on the game's rigged, that means that almost every game's rigged because I see these people freaking out over the Dolphins, what happened to them. And yeah, numerically it was bad, but look at the Bills. And how many games have they had these crazy calls? So is every game rigged? Almost every game I see stuff that's insane that I don't remember seeing before. And so that makes me feel like I'm watching WWF. And so maybe it's me psychologically putting up a front and not being honest and genuine about it's rigged, but I can't because then it's just like, why am I doing this? Why am I watching this? And so I really kind of reject the malicious nature, maybe because I don't want the game that I've been spent 40 something years in and love like you wouldn't believe to be fake. I seek truth all the time, but this is like one of the few times, man, I just don't even want to think that. I just want to think they're inept. I just want to think they're inept. And because if not, there's nothing that makes sense. Then what am I doing here? It's like, is nothing, then I'm just basically, I'm critiquing actors. And that's terrible, man. I can't do that. So you might be right. I'm not saying you might not, but if I go down that road, then everything's meaningless. Like the Osmandius, I feel like when you said that, dude, I feel like, if you know, if you heard Lord Byron's Osmandius poem. Greer has to cook at the trade deadline to shore up a weakness. I don't think he's going to. I would like him to. There's guys out there we can get, but I don't think he's going to. I think the money's pretty tight, and I think he believes in his. Look, I'm not a big fan of Chris Greer. You know, there's certain things I like about him. There's certain things even when I said I don't like the guy, there's certain things I go, I like that about the guy. I try to evaluate fairly. But you can, however you slice it, he's got insane belief in his picks, and you can see that as noble, or you could see that as foolish. I think case by case basis, you have to interpret it, but he has high belief. His father was the same way over in the Patriots. That was one of the knocks between him and Carroll, and it was his, demanding and serious nature about, hey, my pick's got to play, or that's why they're not doing well. So I don't think he's going to. Rigged. Oh man, look at this, Lucas. Look at this. No, man. I'm sure, but I can't do it, man. I can't. I'm not. I'm like one of those guys. I get fixated on stuff, and even you're saying that right now, and I'm like I'm just like hitting the recycle bin as you're saying that. Because if I lock it in there, I'm done. I can never forget. I'm like one of those photographic guys when it comes to certain ideas. Let me say, Nicholas, Dolphins are also in a great spot, despite with that what Twitter and the talking heads say. Finn's game was totally, man, totally. I've been saying that. I said it wasn't. I'm like, it's not a must win, and people are like, every game's a must win. I'm like, listen, you're going to lose games. I would say if they had won, it would have been great for optics. But the goal is not to have great optics. The goal is to get to the playoffs, to start your first game in a good situation, and have success in the playoffs. And if that's the goal, Philly helps you a little bit. But if you wanted Philly and you lost to the Patriots and you lost to KC, it would have meant jack. So conversely, if you lose to the Eagles and you beat the Patriots and send them to hell, I don't mean to, I almost broke my PG-13 there. And then you beat the Chiefs, you're number one in the division, you're number one in the AFC. Who cares? No one will remember the Eagles game. So I'm not really I'll email you and leave it to you. Decide if you can keep it separate and stay objective. Oh, I don't know, man. No, don't do it. Don't do it. So for me, this Patriots game has more magnitude for the Dolphins' true goal than the Philly game. Yeah, you know what? People want to say, oh, we didn't beat a winning team. Whatever. That means nothing. It means nothing. If we beat Philly and we lose it, that's optics. That's why I hate Twitter. That's why I rage against stupid stuff. And sometimes I get myself in trouble because optics really isn't real. I mean, it has effect. So if we put the stake in the Patriots, they're done. We're past them. Then we got to deal with the Jets and we got to deal with the Bills. We got to deal with that, but you're done with one team and you got a division win. Then you go to the Chiefs and you're coming off a nice win at home. You beat the Chiefs. You go to your bye. You get guys coming back. You're 7-2, and you got all these guys coming back. Who cares about Philly? People get so fixated. People don't get fixated on the game coming up, but then when it's done, they get fixated when it's done. It really, you just got to kind of see the macro and the micro, if that makes sense. Yeah, Walt. Yeah, man. Come on. Look, we win the division. Listen, it's not going to be easy. I'm studying the Ravens. The Ravens scare me more than any team right now in the AFC, more than the Chiefs. Their defense is legit. And if you look at our offense, the problem is if you have, say, like 2 or 3 guys on that line, a good linebacker and a quality secondary to umbrella us and slow us down, that's the scariest thing. I have less fear. I mean, obviously if Eichenberg's in, but if we had Connor and Tehran, I wouldn't fear the Eagles defense at all the way they were. Now they brought burden, and if they bring Blankenship back, it's a different story. But a great front with a bad secondary will gut it. And so the Ravens are going to be tough. Chiefs probably will be tough, but they lost Bolton, that linebacker, and that's a big edge for us. So we win this division, and we got one home game, and then it's just one win, and you're in a conference championship. And if you go to the conference championship, honestly, I would love to go to Super Bowl. But if this Bill gets to the conference championship, it's justified. The season is justified. The franchise is justified. The group, Chris Greer and Fangio and McDaniel, they're justified. And then we got to go back next year and see what the next step is. But you're justified. But if we would lose round one, the whole offseason is going to be like we're underachievers. So win your division, get that home field, win your game, and then you got one game to make it happen. And we can do it. But we got to get this Patriots game out of the way. Let's see. Austin Jackets, Phillies was defense his worst game, but in other games, I feel like he's getting help from chips when he doesn't need it, like Smythe. Yeah, well, Nick, I'm the bad guy. I remember Dallas Thomas. I was saying the same things, and Fin fans were like, we hate Dallas Thomas and the other guy. We sent them both out with Gase. But now we have this like media thing, Eichenberg and Cotton and Jackson. And if you say anything bad about him, you're a bad guy. Now you could be wrong, but it doesn't mean you're a bad guy. But if you go back and you look at the context of what Jackson has done, he hasn't been terrible, but he gets the help, and they know he needs the help. They know Lamb can kind of operate on his own. They know that Connor will be one-on-one, and then they'll have Hunt flow to his side. And if you notice Hunt, when he blocks, he's always looking. And so they protect him. And it wasn't bad when Wynn was there, but now that Wynn's not there, now you got to protect those two spots. And that's kind of, obviously they had a great front, but when you have a great front and you got to protect more than one piece, then everything kind of starts crumbling. And so Jackson, there's some good parts to his game. And I actually think this kid's going to be good in time, but like a couple of years when the physicality, because I showed like in one of my studies, he had a penalty. It was a stretch run, and he was on the guy and he lost. But Mostert was on his side, and he just pulled the jersey like this. And 55, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, just went like this. And the distance between the tackle was this. And it was a brilliant cheat, if you want to call it. But that's savvy play. But then there were other times he's putting the hands to the face constantly, and he's grabbing guys. Now, I think in time, with all his his physicality, he'll eventually mature, and he'll add in this good cheating style. But right now he's cheating a lot, and sometimes he's okay, but he's not an anchor that people are making him out to be, if that makes it out. He struggled week one. I think he gave up like 4 pressures, 5 pressures. Then week 2, he gave up a sack and like 2 pressures maybe, and then he had a good run. But then he struggled against, he wasn't exposed in the Bills game. They weren't attacking him. They were attacking Eichenberg. Got to remember too, when a defense game plans all week, they look at the offensive line and they're eyeing the weakest spot. And if you can get interior pressure, you're not worried about getting edge pressure. Interior pressure is the most critical pressure. And when Eichenberg came in, it was his first game. I don't like his play, but the guy's first game as a center, and Daquan just feasted on him along with Oliver, and they were attacking the center. And so he kind of didn't have a lot of opportunities. But then in the Philly game, they were attacking everywhere. And so he got a little exposed. And I think we could see some of that this week. Although if Connor's in, I don't think he will get exposed like that. But if Eichenberg's in, he's going to have to ride the ship on his own a little bit more than he has in the past, and he could get exposed, if that makes sense. Healthy, we stack up to anyone come playoff time. Yeah, yeah. It depends. Like let's say a team comes to Miami and it's a nice day, I think we could play with anybody healthy. But if we got to go to Baltimore and it's a cold, windy day and a little drizzle, a little snow, I don't like that. So there's a lot of situations depending on the battlefield conditions and where we're going. Like if I would rather play the Bills, in our house than obviously play the Baltimore in their house. I'd rather play the Chiefs Chiefs is tough too. That's a bad. So if we have bad weather, it could kind of affect things. That's why we need that first home game. But talent-wise, I like us against most teams. But it depends. There's a lot of depending. It's nothing's ever a given. That's why every given week things change because, matchups, you look at one team, you're like, oh, they should beat this team. And then there's like 1 or 2 matchups that people won't pay attention to. And all of a sudden the game gets competitive or this team loses. It's a very weird thing, depending on the weather, depending on the matchups, depending on how guys play. I forgot what team it was. They showed up and they're like, the team we saw on film wasn't the team we played. They had jet lag. You know what I mean? So there's so many variables. But from a talent standpoint, if we're healthy, I think we can. If you got Teron, you got Connor, you got Hunt, and you got everybody else, I like what we can do, man. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm Mr. Negative, I guess, Let's see, From McDaniel's presentation, it sounds like if Rob Jones isn't in this week, that he'll be taking over left guard starting next week. I really hope he plays. I don't know why it's taken so long. It's a really weird thing. I spend a lot of time doing this, but I'm no like footballs, and most of us have seen this. Like, why were we struggling over him versus Eichenberg last year? It made no sense. And then Cotton, it didn't make no sense. He is weak in his own stretch, but he's a bully, man. And I just think that if you have Teron, Jones, Connor, and Hunt, those 3 guys, Jones, Connor, and Hunt, that's a bully squad. And we don't have much bully squad. So I don't know. I hope it's true. Robert Jones wasn't drafted by Greer. He wasn't he? Yeah. I mean, they say Flores didn't draft everybody. I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. I think that it was a collab. I think that 2019, Greer had pretty much total control. And in Flores he said, Flores, come in and help me, do the stuff. And he's like, I was really happy that Flores, he really took it over. But then 2020, I think it was a communal thing. And then 2021, I still think that if you go back and you look at 2019, Greer sat down with Flores and he told us how it worked. He said he would go to the coaches and ask for player skill sets, player prototypes, philosophies they were looking for, and to build these dossiers on what they were looking for at each position. And then they would feed it up to the scouts. And then the scouts will go searching for those kind of players, unless, somewhere once in a while you'd have a specific guy like Boyer found Needham and Boyer found Kohu. But for the most part, it was, hey, I'm looking for this kind of player. I'm looking for this prototype. The scouts go get it. The scouts scout, and then they send their dossiers to Greer, and then Greer sends it back down to the staff, and then they hash it out. At a certain point, it became, as we learned from the Van Noy thing, a civil war, so we really don't know what the situation is. But I think that the Jones thing is more about his inability to run zone stretch. And McDaniel really wants that zone stretch. And if you watch Jones, he's got a little knock knees and he's a little slow on that zone stretch. And so it inhibits some of the things he wants to do. So I don't think Greer's cutting him out because of that, but I could be wrong. I think it could be wrong, Didn't get everybody's stuff, but I just hope he's in, man. I'm telling you, guys, if Jones is in there with Connor and a Hunt, and you run some inside zone, play action, we can bully guys, bully them short. It's going to be a different team, a much better team, in my opinion. I just think that 330-pound Jones 300-pound Connor, 310 maybe, and then 330-pound Hunt are going to work the interiors, especially against a team like the Bills who are short on DT talent, man. So I'm hoping it plays out. Anyway, guys, anything else? Anything else you guys want to bring up, talk about? Did I do all right? Did I give you some good information? Does it make sense? Yeah. Oh, yeah, guys. I always forget to do this. I got to start doing this. They keep telling me. Yeah. Make sure you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, it's going to keep me. I'm kind of like, I think I'm going to get next season from my sponsors. If not, it'll be my last season, but I think I might. So all that stuff is going to keep me in the game. Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate you. Trust me, I appreciate you. I'm a dumb monkey, man. So, hey, John. So much pressure on the O. Why can't we run easy wheel routes? I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to look into it, John. I'm going to tell my wife I can't hang out with you tomorrow because my friend John said I got to go check out the wheel routes. I think a lot of it has to do with the concepts we want to run. And I don't know. That's a really good point. I'll check it out, man. I'll think about it, John. Hey, guys, wish John a happy 50th. He just turned 50. You're a good guy, John. You put up with me a lot, even though we disagree sometimes. I appreciate you, man. I hope you had a great 50. How's that? I got one more. Nicholas, you think that is a knock on Mike McD that he doesn't adapt and put Rob Jones? You're going to get me in trouble. Look, I don't think Chris Greer's the wallflower he was made out to be. You listen to the Van Noy conversation, and I hear people talking about it, and it doesn't seem like normal. Like Van Noy said he got cut because he was a guy's guy, and it was spiteful that he got cut to get at the other guy. Now, Flores was with him in Patriots, so obviously Van Noy was Flores' guy, so Greer cut him to spite Flores. So Greer has influence. And I think that Greer said, hey, I'm bringing you in here. I spent a second and third on Eichenberg and a first on Jackson. We got to try to make this work. But I think Greer might be at the point where he's saying, hey, look, we got to win this game now. You've let it go. You've gone undue amount of time. You could try Jones now. Because clearly last year they were forcing Eichenberg in. And even going into the season, they're like, he's starting left guard. Who would have thought he was immediately out. Everybody knew he wasn't. How is he? Mike McDaniel and Smith are not idiots. So I think that part of the package was, I got these talent. I believe in them. I spent a lot on them. Let's try to make it work. But at a certain point, even Chris Greer goes, okay, here we go. We got to save the season. And so I think I don't think it's a knock on Mike McDaniel. I don't think so. I did want to ask you about the route wide receiver count. They always seem to be too close. I haven't analyzed it enough. I know some people saying the pick was because Mostert and Waddle ran too. I don't know. I gotta really do some research on it. I can't open my mouth until I spend a lot of time doing that. So I'll write that down along with John Wheel Route. Sorry, babe. Opinionated Onion and John Gordon want me to check routes. Sweetie, I can't hang out with you today. I'm putting you guys under the pressure. I see it. Hey, Kev, man, tomorrow night I'll be with you guys. We can make fun of Tommy. Tommy's been busting my chops on live for 2 weeks in a row now. I'm bust on him tomorrow. How you doing, brother? This is Jedi Kev from Sports Jedi Network. He's a real good guy, man. And he does like the intros. I should probably do the intro. I forgot to do the intro. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, man. How you doing, Kev? Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to check all that stuff. Hey, Lucas, you hit 42? Oh, man, I'm jealous. I'm jealous, guys. I wish we could all hang out at a bar, man. That'd be great. I don't drink, but, I eat a lot of wings. But I love people. That's why I like doing this, man. It's really the main reason I want to do this live stuff. I appreciate everything you guys do, man. You're the best. All right. Yeah, man. He's a real Brooklyn guy, dude. He's like a seller, man. Hit the like button, or I'm gonna send my boys after you. All right, so it's a Jets page, but he classes up the joint when he brings in a Dolphin guy like me in. All right, guys. I gotta go hang out with the wife. I would like to continue to talk football, but I might get in trouble. You guys are the best, man. Enjoy the game. This is a big one. We win this one, and then it's the ceiling evaluation versus the Chiefs. But this is not going to, I don't think it's going to be easy. I hope it is. I really want to see Belichick get the Nosferatu spike in his chest. So thank you for everything, guys. You're the best. I will catch up with you soon. Go Fins.